Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Beyond Day One. I want you to take a look at this video and tell me what you think.
Gen Z, there's a very high likelihood this video is going to piss you off,
I'm so upset.
trigger you. You may have your microaggression type of a moment. But for those of you that are higher Gen Zs, you're going to say, I agree with some of the stuff. But this is purely for some of you that are between 12 to 27 years old, born between 97 and 2012, that you want to find a way to have a fighting chance in the future. Watch this video in its entirety. Watch this. New statistics. Do you know what percent of Gen Z workers claim they experience burnout at work?
I get scheduled for 25 hours a week. I'm literally about to quit.
Not 20%, not 40%, not 80%, not 90%. 98% of you experience burnout.
Every single day, go and work somewhere and do that 5 times a week.
How? You're in your early 20s. Watch this. 23% face unmanageable stress and 48% feel drained. According to a Cigna survey, Gen Z is the most stressed generation of all time.
This is so interesting because over these next couple of episodes, we're going to talk about being run down, burned out, and how to build the stamina to survive the workplace. You know, we talk here about burnout, and you saw the video, and I think it's just for some of you, it may be shocking. If you're in an older generation, you might look at that and be like, oh God, here we go. But if you're a Gen Z, this is not anything that's not real to you. It's not anything that you haven't seen. 46% of Gen Z respondents to a Deloitte Global Gen Z survey said that they feel burned out due to the intensity or demands of their work environment. So, one of the things that's become clear, and I've watched so many of these videos, and I've even seen it in person. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the reality is that this generation has got to bulk up in its strength and stamina. It's almost like you got to get ready for this thing by building the strength necessary to endure and go through what it means to be in your work day and to go through a work day, travel, all of that good stuff. Because you know what, you guys? The reality is for most people, this is the pattern that you're going to have to follow. Even when you're an entrepreneur, there's so many Gen Z who say, I'm just going to be a this, I'm just going to be a UGC, or I'm just going to be an influencer, or I'm just going to own my own business. You guys, that doesn't make you work less. That means you work harder, you work more to achieve the goals because the money doesn't come just because you show up. The money comes because you work at it. And so we've got to build the strength and stamina, not just physical strength and stamina, but mental and emotional stamina to help you to get the victory. I'm not going to do this by myself. As always, I've got help. I've got with me John D, and I've also got Phillip Rich with me. Gentlemen, glad you're both here with me.
Glad
You
to
know,
be here.
we've got a juicy here. What do you guys think of the video?
John, you
That's
first.
Oh man. Okay. Man, he mentioned the top. What did he say? Like the older Gen Z, and I feel like that's like the perfect place where I sit because I don't have. I don't want to sound like that. I don't have that issue, but I really don't feel like it's that much of a stressor, um, because I do think that it's it's work. You know, you have to work. There are things that just have to be done. And you're gonna have a boss that's gonna tell you you need to do A, B, and C, and you're gonna have to do X, Y, and Z, and it's just gonna have to be done. And so, I the my initial reaction just wants to like grab some of these people, these younger Gen Zers, and be like, hey, get over it. It's gonna be okay. You just have to just kind of let it come over you and experience the stress a little bit, but make that stress be your motivator to get the work done. Man, it's tough. It's a tough hurdle to cross over, but um, yeah, it makes me feel a little like I just want to tell
Right.
everyone to just get over it, man.
You know, Philip, so many people say that part of the reason why Gen Z has this struggle is because they were coming out into the workforce during that COVID time and there were masks, there was all that craziness, and it's part of what makes them so anxious and stressed. What is your thought about
I definitely think that the COVID era was one of those times that it wasn't conducive to normal life.
that?
It was pretty obvious. And like they talked about, there was I've heard the different studies that happened about even losing that ability to have social signals, understanding the social cues because everybody was wearing masks at the time and things like that. It made it a little bit more difficult for people to connect with each other just on a basic human to human level. And I could see where it could play into possibly have creating like a hindrance for people understanding how to deal with interpersonal dynamics and things like that. I don't want to totally discount that. I do think that also just in general, it was a stressful time for the whole country, for the whole world because folks were losing their jobs all over the place. There was a lot of economic fallout to COVID that was pretty rough. And so I can see not having that opportunity to come into the workforce during a quote unquote normal time would definitely, put some people on edge. Like, what does normal even look like? I'm coming out into the workforce during this time. And let's say, that maybe a job that they would have done in person, now they had to do remotely. They didn't get that opportunity to understand how to function in the office-based environment and things like that. So definitely some hurdles that Gen Z had to face. I do think though that there's that other side of it where when you get into the workforce, and forgive the language for being a little blunt here, but certain things are just going to suck. You're not going to have everything your way. You're not going to have everything like you want it. There's certain things that are going to go against your preferences, man. That's just that is work. That's work, and it's also life. And I think that part of that experience is to help everyone understand that they are not the center of the universe. I think there's something to be said for that we have to kind of, it helps you gain perspective on the fact that life requires things of you sometimes that are not comfortable, and that's just the way that it's going to be. Hopefully that'll help you toughen up a little bit and develop some resilience rather than it causing you to crumble, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Philip and I are both of the same generation, and sometimes we talk about this from a generational perspective. But when we were young professionals, it wasn't really different.
No.
Mm.
None
No, it
of
was
us wanted to have to go to work
not.
and then spend the whole day there and do what? And especially at a job that wasn't like necessarily your favorite thing to do.
Right.
None of us really wanted to do that. But it's what we kind of had to learn. And through that learning, we learned things that got us to places we wanted to be
Yeah.
and got us into the places where we did. So, you know, Philip and John, we've got to, first of all, I guess, distinguish between, legitimate exhaustion and
Mhm.
undeveloped stamina.
Mm.
Legitimate exhaustion is that, not only have I been at it all week and then I've got a hour, 2 hour commute that's connected with my work. And, I have to leave the house at, like we do here in Atlanta sometimes, depending on where you work, you know, with traffic and everything, you have to leave the house at 6:30 to get somewhere by 9,
Yeah.
or to get somewhere by 8 and, 7:30 to get somewhere by 9. And
Mhm.
so I used to get so frustrated because I felt like I spent all of my time in the day on the road and at work. And by the time I got home, I had nothing to give.
Yeah.
And that was some genuine exhaustion.
Yeah.
Some of you have a 5-minute commute and you walk in the door like, oh my gosh, I cannot take it. And it's like you first of all have no clue what it could be like for others, but
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a legitimate exhaustion. That's undeveloped stamina. The guy who was in the video who worked for Starbucks and said, I work 25 hours a week and I just want to quit. That means that stamina is needed, that there's a fortitude, a fortifying that needs to happen with that individual. Well, let
Yeah.
me go ahead and give you the big pull right here. Stamina is a skill, it's not a personality trait. It's a soft skill that you need to develop in order to help you to endure throughout your workday on certain days when you have to. You can build stamina, but you have to first stop treating tiredness as a verdict on your career and start treating it as a problem to solve. You can't just accept it. You
That's
have to
good.
do something about it. I know for me that, at some point, I started working harder to find better jobs so that I could be closer to home. And then
Mhm.
eventually I started working for myself and creating opportunities not only for myself, but for other people. And so, there's nothing wrong with entrepreneurship. There's nothing wrong with some of these other paths that you might take to get there, but you have to work to get to those places. So you have to build the stamina. So this is kind of just the introduction. We're going to tackle this from three areas. First of all, we're going to talk about mental stamina over the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about emotional stamina, and then we're going to talk about physical stamina because they're all three connected. If you pull on one, it affects all three. But today is about understanding the problem. Phil, Phil, you shared just a little bit ago about a situation that you had uh, in a classroom. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this was back. I was doing some in person training, and we were training call center agents to answer the phone and do insurance enrollments and things like that. But so we had gone through the training the whole week, and then there was the time when they actually had the opportunity to get out there on the floor and start taking phone calls. And this one young lady, bless her heart, she took, I don't know how many calls, but it was one of the first few that she took. And all of a sudden, she literally had a meltdown. I think maybe the customer yelled at her or something like that on the phone. She literally took her headset off, threw it on the desk, like walked away, almost running away into the office, and then curled up in the corner of the office in like the fetal position and was just crying her eyes out. It looked like almost like a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it was one of those things where I had never dealt with that before. So I was, coming into the office trying to do what I could to maybe console her. And I'm like, she said, I just can't do this. I can't do this job. She was just saying that. And I was trying to encourage her. I was like, yes, you can. You can actually do this. You've got the training, you've got the this and that. Trying to just maybe coach her out of it a little bit. That was hard. I'm not sure how much of it worked, but it did show me though that different people's tolerance levels based on whatever kind of stamina, if you want to call it, that they've built up in preparation for that job. Sometimes, again, it's one of those things where you have to learn how to honestly kind of be a little bit detached from whatever the work is that you're doing. That way, you don't take things too personally, especially when you're dealing with a public facing thing or a customer service style job. You're going to have to learn how to develop some thick skin because there will be people who will take you all the way to the limit and then some. So, but that was one of those standout moments. Like, man, you don't want to think that this person is just going to fall apart at the least little thing, but it
And they
didn't
do.
bode well. It didn't bode well in that situation.
Yeah, and I was with Philip and I were working together at that point, and she did not recover.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that, Phil, but she didn't recover.
I
She
wasn't
ended
sure what happened to her. Yeah.
she ended up going home that day, and that's a sad outcome because the job was easy. The
Yeah.
job was easy, but
Yeah.
we've got to realize that this is all part of this is connected with the whole issue that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks about initiative. And it's kind of a whole concept of work ethic that we're
Mhm.
talking about here. And everybody needs to build the right work ethic so that you can win. So listen to our videos on initiative and then take these videos in well, and you're going to have a good seat to start from. Guys,
Mhm.
it's been our joy to be with you. I'm David. Once again, that's Philip. He's John, and we are out of here.